Hi, everybody. My name is Gerald Rullies, and today I've got an amazing guest. He's my colleague, my friend, my brother that's on this world to help people be healthy and happy. And today I have Sean Drebin. Sean, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Gerald. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So today I'd like for anybody who is wanting to learn a little bit more PEMF. Sean is the expert. He is located here in the Treasure Valley. Also had come here from California. He still goes back and forth. You know, he and I both have family out there, and he does have patients in California, patients here in the Treasure Valley. And I just want you to become familiar with his story and what he knows about PMF. And ideally, you also learn for yourself how this treatment or this type of healing modality can actually help you as well. So, Sean, why don't we start from the beginning? You know, just tell me a little bit about what got you into, what's your healing journey been like and what eventually got you drawn to PEMF?
Sure. Thanks. I appreciate that. I at a young age, probably around age 13, I got really into wanting to get fit. That was 6 foot 2 inches tall by the time I was in eighth grade and very, very skinny. So I pretty much got a gym membership as quickly as my parents would allow me to. And just kind of kicked it off and I was going way too much. I didn't know anything about working out. I just found bodybuilders and I said, hey, who can I learn from? How do I work out? What do I do? And the trajectory was awesome in the beginning, but about 2 years in, I started to really feel the negative effects of lifting with improper mechanics, working out too hard, too much, not having my diet dialed in. I was just a kid going, I just want to get big. How do I do it? But those injuries actually really led me into wanting to learn about the human body. I had a rotator cuff injury, I had a knee injury. Thankfully, I didn't need any surgeries to fix them, just some good physical therapy. But when I got into the physical therapist's office and I started looking at the charts and the anatomy charts on the walls and things of that nature, I just started to like naturally wanted to study, right? And so they would give me homework. And by the time I hit 17 or so, I realized, I thought maybe I may want to be a personal trainer because I was the guy that got all my friends into the gym. And that was the beginning of everything. And when my personal training career started kicking off in California, when I was right around 18 years old, I was actually diagnosed with advanced heart disease. So that was a real shocker for me. They didn't really know what I had. They thought potentially I had Marfan syndrome, which a lot of people do not survive past their kind of early to mid 30s. Thankfully, that's not what I had. I had traditional mitral valve prolapse with left ventricle hypertrophy. That was the technical jargon, but basically what that means is the whole heart was becoming diseased because the mitral valve wasn't working properly. And it really was a lot worse than they thought it was. They thought that medications would be the way to go to bring my blood pressure down, help with heart rhythm. And it never really did that. So then I had to stop going to college. I had to stop studying, hanging out with my friends. I wasn't allowed to date because anything that would excite you, could throw me into abnormal heart rhythm. And that was my main issue was I had atrial fibrillation, and which can lead to a stroke if it's not, taken care of. So I went the traditional allopathic route. The meds really weren't helping, but I stayed on them anyway. And thankfully, I had a surgeon by the time I was 20 really fighting for me with the insurance companies to get the surgery covered because they felt I didn't need it. But once they approved the surgery, I had a great doctor out of UCLA Medical Center who was the chief of heart surgery and heart transplantation at the time. And it wasn't until they actually opened me up that they really saw how bad it was. They actually told me that I maybe had weeks to live, that I would have been one of those kids in the gym playing sports, hanging out, and just drop dead. That would have been one of those. And so that was pretty scary. And my 4 hour operation was actually closer to 10 hours because it was my aortic valve as well was completely damaged. The mitral valve, because it was a reconstruction surgery, took more time than they thought. So they had to take me on and off the bypass machines. For those of you that don't understand how that works, every time they take you on and off, you have a higher risk of death. So that was a pretty scary time. And so um, that was a long recovery. And I was, in a lot of pain, which they did not expect after the heart surgery. And that was the beginning of what led me down the journey of natural healing.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot at such a young age. And obviously now I've got to know you and see, obviously physically on the appearance, you look solid, and your heart is much stronger now with the proper nutritional support. And it's happy to see also your son coming into the clinic and now
Yes.
seeing him be very physically active, almost like borderline superstar athlete. So I'm really happy to see that you've been able to embrace that, because oftentimes with challenges and crises, it's a moment for us to really transition our life to find what works and what can heal. So, knowing that you went through all of that, what have you done now to help you to overcome, not only to support your cardiovascular health, but overcome a lot of the traumas that can come from surgeries and procedures, and just oftentimes for kids or even young adults and even elderly adults, seeing medical doctors can be somewhat a bit of a scary time, just going through these
Yeah.
procedures. And what have you done to help yourself get through a lot of that trauma that was probably built up, and then ultimately, how did you get into the PMF world?
Yeah, so like I said, it was I was in a lot of pain that they didn't expect. They gave me Percocet, they gave me Vicodin, they gave me all these different drugs that would just make me feel more suicidal and anxious, affecting my sleep. I just wasn't feeling myself, and I really was concerned I would never get there.
Mm.
But the beginning of the alternative healing was my mom's cousin had approached me, and she said, "Have you ever thought of using magnets for healing?" And she said, I can bring you this mattress pad with magnets and insoles for your shoes and a necklace and just see if it helps you. And I thought she was, out of her mind, right? I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. Like, come on, how can magnets help? Like I was really like left brain and really condescending and very arrogant, because I was 21 years old at this time.
Yeah.
But I really, in the end, I said, what do I have to lose, right? The worst thing that can happen is I can say this garbage doesn't work and send it back to her. But it was really the beginning of my healing. I was shocked that within a week, I started sleeping better. Within 2 weeks, my mood started to shift. Within about a month, my pain had gone away. And I really got my life back. And so, I was able to, within a few months after my heart surgery, be able to um, take my personal training certification exam for the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and thankfully, passed and did well, and I was able to get back into personal training and really start my business. And so on that path, it just kind of you have a very narrow perspective of life, right? And one thing just kind of really opens up your periphery. So now you can actually see things that have probably always been around you. You just didn't pay attention to it. So I started to get acupuncture just to experience what it was like, even though I didn't have any more pain. But then that helped me release a lot of emotional stuff that I had trapped in my body, that I started to feel all this fear around, when I was diagnosed, to when I was going down into, the basement for anesthesia before the surgery. And, through that healing process, I didn't realize there was a lot of emotionally stuck energy. So that led me to guided meditation. It led me to biofeedback and Ayurvedic medicine and traditional Chinese medicine. So over the years, it really just expanded that. I started to read a lot of books around natural healing, around nutrition, the circadian rhythm, which is your sleep-wake cycles, and how all these things play a big role. Even the sun, that came kind of later down the road, but started to realize all these things that you can do that don't cost money, some things that do cost money, but the
Mhm.
reality was different ways to connect to what I call your inner technology, right? How to self-heal, and really believing that you're not just this bag of meat, having this kind of a basic 3D life, that there's so much more to it than I ever imagined. And it really started to lead me to um, true joy, true self-love, speaking my truth, all these things that I was always afraid to do. So I really see my surgery as a blessing, that really got me in touch with the essence of who I am and the man that I wanted to become. And so I would say I in my personal training practice, people would ask me, "Hey, we notice, you look more vibrant. Not just physically healthy, but you look happier. You look more peaceful. Can you teach me these things?" And so over time, I built the confidence to start to teach the breath work, the meditation, doing guided meditation, and all these different things that I was already doing. Brought that into my practice, and my practice became more of a body, mind, spirit type of personal training. Yeah, which made it more, enriching, right? It just made it
Right.
more fun to do.
Yeah, that's great. That it's a lot of times we want, and people come in here, we give them a book to give them some information about how to become in control of their health, but it starts with awareness, and we breathe all constantly, and we're eating multiple times throughout the day, we're drinking water, and then we're moving, right? And so from our
Yeah,
movement, it's, is our posture correct? Is our movement correct? Are we grabbing things correctly? Are we supporting
yeah,
our structure? And this awareness is very, very key. And also, I like how you discuss that it actually is, there's this awareness, but there's this concept of also understanding the energy. You mentioned, yeah, you bag of meat, right?
right.
But we got energy coming from our brain, sending signals to our muscles, and to be able to communicate. And then we're sending energy and intention to other people, whether it's positive thoughts or prayer of some
Yeah,
sort, and so I love that you learn this early on, because there are so many people out there who are still asleep to it. And
yeah. It's really it. I'm seeing more and more people, lately, connecting this part of themselves, which is really fun to watch and to kind of be there in support of this type of growth. And that's kind of what happened with the, being introduced to the pulsating magnetic field, the PEMF, right? Was I was actually driving to go eat at a certain restaurant, and it was like intuitively, it was like, get off here. Okay. I mean, I just, whatever that voice was, I didn't know. I listened, and I got off and I went to a restaurant I wasn't supposed to go to. So I thought. And I ran into a roommate of an ex-girlfriend of mine who I had not seen in close to 15 years.
wow.
And he says, hey, hey, nice to see you. You still personal training and all these things. I said, yeah. And I start telling him all the other things I was getting into. And he said, have you heard of PEMF? And I said, I no, what is that? And he said, pulsating electromagnetic fields. So all I knew about uh, anything related to that was EMF, right? The negative stuff from like cell towers and things like that. So I was like, oh, I don't know. And he says, no, you should look at the research. There's a lot there on using these, their different frequency range of magnetic fields that short duration are very, very healing. And you should check it out. So I happened to go to his home, a couple weeks later, and he gave me a demo, and it literally, I mean, it just, even though I was feeling really good with my journey, um, it just took me to the next level. Like I was able to feel my own energy field in a completely different way. And the way I explain it is I feel like internally, when you feel like, let's say, a cat that's purring, that vibrational feeling, I felt like that on a more subtle level in my body, like this oscillating energy. And it just took everything that I'd say I was probably 85, 90% of where I wanted to be. And it took me beyond where I thought I could go. So I was able to get one of the units. I brought it, to different clients, and because I work with a lot of special population, I work with athletes, people with different health conditions, and I really just saw their health and vitality and their pain, especially, diminishing very quickly. Health and vitality improving within weeks, and seeing that they weren't getting, sick as often, and they had better mood and they had better mobility, and it was just a lot of fun to see all the different areas. And so then I really dove into that path. He introduced me to the owner of this company that's based out of LA, who actually became one of my clients for personal training as well. And that's where I started really learning a lot more about it, and became a distributor for their company. And then started taking that, I became one of their top regional distributors throughout the United States. And I started getting to a point where I liked it so much, I started training practitioners. And so I treat as well as train practitioners on how to use the technology.
That's awesome. It's, we're on this mission to help as many people be healthy and happy. And obviously there's certain people that can come into the clinic that I can work with on a one-on-one basis. But if there's a way where now I train clinicians as well. And so it's great to hear that another colleague, is able to do that within your specialty, right? Because
Yeah.
you can only see so many clients yourself on a one-on-one basis, but if you can train other clinicians and help install these, and you You do have a huge network already here in Treasure Valley in such a short period of time that a lot of these clinics are using your devices and you're in there teaching them and training them. Now your impact to help people with PMF is even greater. And I love how you differentiate, and you brought up the EMF. So a lot of people, yeah, understand that the cell phone towers with the 5G, as well as also, Wi-Fi, and we have all kinds of sources of different radiation, even the smart meters on homes that they
Yeah.
just installed without anybody's permission is sending this negative type of electrical signals, frequencies through our bodies. And however, we do what we can to protect ourselves from the negative EMF effects. But let's dig deeper into the positive effects of PMF, because I also, even at home in my office, I have grounding mats. So in a way, if there's I get exposed to anything negative, it flows through me and then leaves the body. Right. So
Right.
there's grounding mats, which is kind of like, let's negate whatever we get exposed to. But let's talk about now the injection or the introduction of PMF, and how does that work when someone's receiving that, and what have you seen clinically? I know there's research, but then there's also
Right.
anecdotal evidence.
Yes.
So whatever, yeah, share with that with our audience.
Yeah. So first, to kind of, I'll keep it as basic as I possibly can on how PEMF works. What's happening is, as the pulses are going through the body, it actually causes the cells. They call it cellular exercise. It causes the cells to contract and relax, right, with every pulse. And when it does that, we have different channels or gates along every cell membrane, and they allow nutrients in and waste out. But on on an energetic term, what we're trying to do is improve our own electromagnetic field. So if we have an injury, or we have low energy, or we have an autoimmune issue, we have a broken bone, whatever's going on in the body, that voltage potential, that electrical potential diminishes dramatically. So, and especially if you're not getting barefoot outside, or being on a grounding mat, or getting sunshine, all these things that improve our negative charge and improve our cellular health, which a lot of us aren't able to do because of our work schedules, the amount of stress we're under, and being bombarded by all these other technologies that are not good for us. It makes it hard for the body to maintain proper cellular voltage and to maintain true cellular health. So as the cells contract and relax over and over again, those channels open up, allowing waste to be removed, nutrients to be brought in. What you're also doing is you're improving the flow of electricity, or electrons, across that membrane. And so as you do that, you have a number of different what are called organelles inside that cell. And the one we focus on mostly these days, especially in the longevity space, is the mitochondria. And the mitochondria would be considered the energy powerhouse of the cell. So as this process is happening, you're not jump starting the mitochondria. That's how they used to talk about it. You're actually helping all the organelles work better, because that electrical charge potential is so much stronger. Now that mitochondria indirectly can make more ATP for energy. And that ATP for energy creates a whole cascade of what we call signaling molecules, or your redox potential, reduction oxidation potential. So once you have more communication molecules, think of it just like a cell phone. If you've got 5 bars, that connection is clear, it's beautiful, it's exactly what you want it to be. But when you get to 1 bar and you start missing words and things like that, or you get dropped calls, that's just like how our cells work. If there isn't enough energy, it can't make enough of these communication molecules to say, hey, the immune system needs support. Go do this, or we need more white blood cells, or we need to do this, or hey, there's a cancer cell here. We need to detect that there is a cancer cell and repair or replace that cell, right? And that's what our body does all the time. It's constantly doing that. So in that example of, let's say, cancer, it's an extreme example, but there's very little signaling cascade where the immune system is able to go, hey, let's bring in the reinforcements to take care of things, because those of us that are healthy, that we all have cancer cells in our body, right? But our immune systems keep it in check. And so once it can't keep it in check anymore, that's directly due to this lack of communication. So from what I've seen with PEMF, as far as benefits, in the beginning, it was looking for, was focusing more on chronic pain, because I had a lot of clients that were over 60 that had, all different types of, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, stenosis, which is the narrowing of the foramen of the vertebrae, so their nerves are being impinged. I had a lot of athletes from lots of injuries just have chronic pain in their shoulders, their backs, their knees. And so I could literally see in, I would say, no less than 50% of the people I treat within 10 minutes, they have a significant reduction in pain. Other people, it can take, 4, 5, 6 sessions before they really start to feel the benefits. And if you're in really bad shape, it could take a couple of weeks. But majority of people within that first 10 to 15 minutes, they can really feel a huge difference in pain. So then I started exploring other areas with other clients, like neuropathy, right? Whether it was diabetic neuropathy or what they call idiopathic neuropathy, which basically means they don't know where it's coming from. Um, I started helping women with fibroid issues. I saw fibroids, shrinking. Women that had, menstrual irregularities or a lot of pain with their menstruation, PCOS, things like that, improving. And, we're not healing these conditions in any way, shape, or form, but we're providing the basic electrical nutrients to the body that it needs, the magnetic field, so that it can enhance those communication networks so that the body can find its own balance. I've helped people with stroke recovery, Parkinson's, MS, anxiety, depression. So just a whole wide variety of issues, even post-surgically. Yeah,
Yeah.
sport performance as well.
Wow, that's amazing. And then, I mean, it almost sounds like anybody can benefit because everybody has mitochondria in their cells. And obviously, if our cells are not healthy, then our organs are not healthy. And if our organs are running insufficiently, it can lead to any issue, not just pain, but
Yeah.
something before pain, because pain is oftentimes a late stage indicator that, hey, something's been
Yes.
going on wrong for a really long time. So how often, I mean, do you recommend that? Obviously, if you work with people who have pain or have some sort of tissue damage, you're
Yeah.
recommending a certain number of sessions and observing their progress with the PMF.
Yeah.
And then do you recommend that they also remain on some sort of maintenance and do this every so often?
Yeah, and it definitely depends on the person, right? So if someone's an outdoorsman and they spend a lot of time in nature and they they don't have a lifestyle that promotes a lot of stress, obviously that's someone that needs it way less often than somebody else who really spends, a good 12 hours a day or more indoors, right? And so it's all based on individual exposure to all the things we're talking about.
Mhm.
And so, and even those people will still, I would say the average person, once they're past their issue, usually a twice a month is really good for maintenance, just to maintain nervous system balance and maintaining the body's ability to heal, just like you would go, maybe, if you were going to a chiropractor and you're going you start out maybe twice a week, but then your maintenance is once or twice a month to maintain that. So depending on how well you're doing with self-care, that will definitely determine it. But yes, I mean, I'm not having any physical pain. I haven't had in a really long time. But I do the PEMF myself. On average, there's times where I miss 3, 4 weeks because I'm just, feeling great and I'm really busy. But on average, I really shoot for no less than once a week. And that really helps to maintain. I can feel that shift, that little bit of shift of like, yeah, I'm just that much better. Everything's working that much, more clearly, whether it's I can even tell that, bowel movements are better. I'm having better, more REM sleep, right?
Yeah.
I'm able to handle, irritable situations more effectively. Even from that once a week, it just really helps to smooth out those edges. So
Yeah.
you don't have to have a health issue. You can do it as total preventative care. I have athletes that I would see twice a week who work out, 5, 6 days a week pretty hard, and they do it twice a week, every week because they feel like that they're not getting the stiffness, the soreness, they get to work out, lift heavier, recover faster, or they have more endurance. So in those situations, you would be doing it more chronically. Um, it just depends on the individual
Yeah.
and
No,
how
that's
they're
great.
doing.
That's great. Yeah. And we've, I've had a couple of patients here, the Natural Health Improvement Center. We've sent them to you, and we know that some of them have some joint issues and you've really locked it in. And we've
Yeah.
seen significant improvement from what we provide them from a functional standpoint of rebuilding blocks, but then the PMF is going in there and really allowing those cells to continue to release toxins and absorb the nutrients to perform
Yes.
healing that's needed.
Yeah. It
And
actually enhances, especially if you're taking any nutraceuticals or their oral or their IV, and even just your general nutrition. It does help increase the uptake of nutrition into the cells by an average of 35%.
Wow.
So because the cells are more permeable to take it in. The areas I didn't mention that I think are important to mention too, PEMF, because people might not think about this, is with breathing. One of my favorite stories in people that I've ever worked with is as a young girl who was 4 years old at the time, who was being hospitalized 3 to 4 times a year for severe asthmatic issues. And I started doing the PEMF on her 3 to 4 days a week for about 2 months. But she was getting benefit literally within the first session. But we kept it up because we wanted to build her resilience and see if it could keep her out of the hospital and also prevent her from needing the steroidal medications and other medications she was on to keep her airways open. And then she was always prone to infections because she was on antibiotics and all these things. So 3, 4 months in, we were down to 1 day a week maintenance. And 6 months in, we were down to once a month maintenance. And to this day, she has never been hospitalized again.
That's awesome.
And she keeps the prescriptions filled, right? In case they need it, they have it. But they've only had to hit those things every, once every couple of months at most.
Yeah.
And so, it was extremely helpful for her. And then we created a kind of a program for her of things that would promote good bacteria that help with asthma. So, she now drinks, a little bit of raw milk, about 3 to 4 ounces of raw milk, 4 or 5 days a week. They changed her diet. They live close to the beach, so now she's getting more of that, the ocean air, and that salty air. And so, now she has a protocol. But even when she was doing it, we were down to like once a month. It was just, really cool. So I've helped people with COPD, again, not saying that we're diagnosing here and saying this helps these conditions, but people who have been diagnosed with COPD and asthma and other breathing issues, I've seen some great success. And even with heart disease, because it helps affect the nitric oxide pathway that dilates the blood vessels. It helps lower blood pressure. And so their heart's not working as hard, lower heart rate. And again, I try to kind of coach people after a while if they want it. How do we maintain this nutritionally through breath work, through meditation, PEMF, all these things, and how to get them more self-sufficient so they don't have to rely on me.
Yeah. And now that you've engaged, obviously you receive a lot of PEMF therapy and you've had this journey. How's your heart doing now? Because after going through all that long ago.
Yeah. No, my heart is great. I mean, I just recently went to a cardiologist because I go every 5 years.
Okay.
And the valves are strong, they're working great. And, they're impressed that my surgeries lasted the benefit, because they told me within 20 to 25 years, you may need to have surgery again, because we don't know how long the valves are going to hold up. But my surgeon really was an artist. I mean, even the other surgeons who checked on me after my surgery said, we would have closed you a lot sooner. We would have finished it when it was just good enough. And I said, why would you do that? And they said, because every time you come on a bypass, your mortality risk increases. And I said, well, I told them, if it's not perfect, don't stop. That's where I was at. And so I really believe that a lot of emotional healing that took place and all the things I've been doing, have really promoted the longevity of the procedure that I had. And if I do have an issue at all, it will be some heart rhythm stuff. I won't get AFib, but I may get some, if I don't get it, if I'm in a phase where I'm not sleeping my normal sleeping patterns, or I'm pushing too hard and not getting enough rest, I will get a little arrhythmia. But the great thing is I use the PEMF, and I swear every time my heart goes right back into sinus rhythm. So I started to look up research on that, and I found that AFib, is very, even just AFib on its own has been treated with PEMF with great success, and other, PVCs and things like that. So that's another way that it can also be utilized. Yeah.
That's great. That's amazing. And I received treatments from you. So full disclosure, I'm a patient of Sean's, and he's performed multiple treatments with the PEMF. And one of the things that I've experienced with your sessions and your devices, and as you're doing your magic, right? I've noticed that I can kind of I can feel it. It's not see, but I can feel myself almost letting emotions kind of move through me and letting them go. So things that are stuck. And similar to my chiropractic colleagues, oftentimes our patients receive chiropractic and they'll get an adjustment and they have this huge emotional release. They may not know why or where it came from, but certain things get stuck. And can you mention briefly a little bit about the potential for things and stuck emotions being able to be released with PMF? Because I've been able to experience that. I don't know, do you see that clinically also with other patients as well?
I do. I do. Obviously, if somebody doesn't want that to happen, if they're kind of guarded emotionally, then that will be less likely to happen until they feel comfortable enough for it to happen. With myself, I was the first time I ever saw that was with myself. I just was crying and crying and crying, and I knew I was just letting go of stuff. So I thought, okay, that's cool that that happened for me. But over time, I have noticed a lot that, especially in an area of the surgical scar, or if they were in a car accident, they had really bad whiplash. When I got, or they, when I got to those areas and other organs that would be stressed, by the issues they've had, when I place the applicators over those areas, first you start to see the breath pattern change, right? And then from that, they'll start a lot of times start to yawn or even kind of yawn and tear. Their brain waves are dropping, they're just dropping in. And then from time, I'd say about, probably 15% of the people who had some sort of either intense physical trauma or intense emotional traumas growing up, whether it be abuse or things like that, a lot of times those things come up and come out. And it really, a lot of times, it's the release of the emotions. A lot of times it really advances the healing process. So I've had someone that had been in multiple car accidents over, a 10-year period, and it had been 2 decades since. And over the months of treating, I started treating them for osteoarthritis, but then as I started to treat other areas around organs and areas of scars, which was just like, I was just thinking, hey, let's try this and see if it adds to your benefit. And it really did. And those people were able to, some of them were able to stop seeing me because it was the emotion, the trapped emotions or trapped energy that was preventing them from really being able to feel their vitality. And then others, it just improved the benefits they received and the duration that they can go in between sessions as well. So yeah, it's pretty awesome to see. I mean, some people that I've worked with look, in my opinion, look 20, 30 years younger just because the stress is gone from their body.
Yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Great. Yeah, I purely every session I have with you, I enjoy it thoroughly. And so for anybody who's looking for more information on connecting with you, obviously I'm going to put down your contact information down below in the notes, but where can they find you if they want to just gather more information, just to either whether they want to schedule a session with you, or if they're a clinician, a practitioner who's looking to bring in some amazing PMF technologies with you, helping install and training them on how to best use that, where can they go?
Sure. So my website is my name. It's ShawnDreben.com, ShawnDreben.com. And my email is Shawn@ShawnDreben.com. So go ahead and reach out to me there. We'll set up a call, a discovery call, talk. We can, a lot of times people do like to talk on Zoom. So I'll do it. It could be a Zoom call, it could be a phone call, and we'll set up a time to do a session and go from there. And if
Awesome.
you're a we we have really great kind of first month of rental. We offer a significant discount on the units, so that way you can have time to really demo them, try them out, get trained by me, and then if you want to purchase, we have all kinds of financing and things of that nature. So yeah.
Cool. Cool. Excellent. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to share your amazing knowledge and experience and wisdom with PMF. There's no better person that I would want to be sharing that with our audience. So thank you for being here. If you are watching this, any audience member, and you're looking to get to the root cause of your health issues, just come visit us at our website at NHIC Idaho. You've got Shawn's contact information, and may you always be healthy and happy.